Ryan Clark here on the Rich Eisen Show. I mean, bravo, sir. 10 of 10, no notes.
Spoken from the heart.
No notes, Ryan. No notes at all.
Yeah, that wasn't my finest analyst moment, Rich. That was like, I was sitting in the same room I'm sitting in right now, and I'm watching Joe Flacco be the Joe Flacco that took the Baltimore Ravens to the Super Bowl. And it made me think about like what Coach Tomlin said about GM Andrew Berry from the Cleveland Browns. He's like, well, he must be smarter than me. He understood that Joe Flacco still had something. And if you go back to week 1, he threw for 290 yards against the Cincinnati Bengals. And now you see him with Jamar Chase, obviously T. Higgins, and what he's able to do with that team since about the second half of that first game against Green Bay. Nobody's going to want to play this offense, but I'm just more upset that the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't take that next step. Coming into the season with Aaron Rodgers, I thought to myself, okay, this is a playoff team. And then now you see them with the down AFC North. The AFC as a conference is not as strong as we thought it would be. And to lay an egg like they did last night defensively is unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, when Flacco pulled the ball and ran it for 12 yards, I audibly screamed. I audibly screamed out loud, and I was surrounded by other people, Brian. I love this reaction. I'm bringing you back. I'm bringing you back
Rich,
here. I know.
Rich, I wanted to jump out of a first-story window because I didn't really want to harm myself that bad. I just wanted the bruises. So I didn't want like the full effect of what happened. But when that happens, like even Kirk Herbstreit is like, wait, Joe Flacco pulled the ball? You see the whole team went to tackle the running back because ain't no way that that's going to happen. The energy that offense played with because they now have hope is all because of a young, looking at least, Joe Flacco.
So what does this tell you about the Steelers defensively? Because, again, this is a team that gave up over 30 points to the Jets, who I was wondering where that Jet team was while I was sitting in a booth in Tottenham 5 days ago. I'm like, I was just begging for. By the way, you were thinking of a first story window. I was looking out of the booth thinking, how deep is this drop? You know what I mean? Like, so
hey,
what does this say about the Steelers defense right now, moving forward?
First off, I'm sure it's a deep enough drop to where you won't run the 40 very fast. So we can't have that.
Correct.
That's an important moment for a lot of people. So we need that to happen.
Thank you.
Here's what it says. It makes you look at that game against the Jets, Rich. It makes you go back to the game against the New England Patriots, where if you remember, there were 5 offensive turnovers that helped and allowed the Pittsburgh Steelers to win that game. But Drake May and the New England Patriots were able to move the ball. I felt like Terrell Austin, the defensive coordinator, found something in the pressure defensive packages we've seen on third downs or in passing situations, adding Patrick Queen to the rush, playing some man-to-man on the back end, using some disguise that's allowed them to get some one-on-ones. But last night, that was so difficult to do because of the matchups outside, which were supposed to be mitigated by adding a Darius Slay, by adding a Jalen Ramsey, and to a lesser effect than Echols that they acquired from the Jets. It was, from the X and O strategy standpoint, it was a whipping from Zach Taylor on Terrell Austin, but also when we're just speaking about players making plays, the Jamar Chases, the T. Higgins, the Yoshi Bosses, the Chase Browns, Noah Fant, they made more plays offensively than what we're used to seeing from the stars, like the T.J. Watt, one of the highest paid players in the world, make. They didn't come up and show up in the most important time.
And lastly, on this subject matter, Ryan, before I pick your brain on the rest of the NFL, I hear it all the time from fans in Western PA whenever I cape for Mike Tomlin and saying that he's one of the best, and if he ever did somehow, some way part ways with the Steelers or vice versa, he'd be hired in 2 seconds flat. If he wanted to do that, he'd be great on TV as well. What do you say to those who are questioning Mike Tomlin's stewardship at this point in time, certainly off of a game like last night, Brian?
Obviously, he's one of my closest friends in the business, a mentor to me, a big brother. last night was disappointing for Mike Tomlin. This team is, I think, 0-7 on Thursday night in the AFC North, right? And so I know he's so smart. He's on every single detail. I know that's part of his preparation, right? What can I do differently to have my team prepared to play? And then it was the thought process in what are the adjustments defensively? How will we be prepared if we see something different or if something isn't working in the manner that it was supposed to be? And I didn't feel like this team was. And I think that's the most disappointing part about Thursday night, that there are many times where I look at Mike Tomlin and I understand his process and I don't put certain losses or certain statistics onto him. Last night's loss was. You got everything you needed and wanted out of Aaron Rodgers to put you up and give you an opportunity 31-30 late in that game. And he and Terrell Austin didn't make the adjustments late to get one stop, because that was all they needed, Rich, was one stop. And this is a very disappointing loss for a team that could have taken an incredibly strong hold on the AFC North and put themselves in play to host more than one playoff game when it came playoff time.
The Emmy Award-winning ESPN analyst Ryan Clark here on the Rich Eisen Show, Monday Night Countdown, every single show. It appears to be under the sun. Of course, the Pivot Pod as well, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk 4-2 teams, Ryan, because the Niners, Eagles, Seahawks, Lions, Rams are all 4-2 in the NFC. If you had to put your marker on only one of them, now, obviously, the Bucs are there at 5-1, and the Packers at 3-1-1. But those 4-2 teams, Niners, Eagles, Seahawks, Lions, Rams, you could put your marker on only one of them to make the Super Bowl. Which one would it be?
You want to say the easy, low-hanging fruit is the Philadelphia Eagles, because we've seen it, right? We've seen them change things, and we've seen them make the adjustments they need offensively going forward. But I'm going to say the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have a big problem at corner right now. There's no DJ Reed. There's no Terrion Arnold. I do think Amik Robertson is a good starting corner, and obviously nickel. I believe that team is the scariest when you're talking about the 4-2 teams. We understand what they can do from an offensive standpoint. They're getting healthier with Aleem McNeil returning into the lineup. Aiden Hutchinson is starting to come along and make some of those plays we watched him make early last season. I think getting those two corners back, and Kelvin Shepard, the new defensive coordinator, first year at DC, having an opportunity to call all of this stuff, do everything he needs to do from a defensive side of the football, and watching an offense that's still explosive. And if not for a penalty called early on in that game with Jared Goff not being set, I think that game could be differently as well if that touchdown pass from David Montgomery counts. And so I think the Detroit Lions have a very strong case to make a Super Bowl run.
All right, then let's go to the AFC, where there are no fewer than now 6 4-2 teams. The Steelers, Chargers, Patriots, Bills, Jaguars, Broncos. Let's do the same thing. You can only put your marker on one of those teams. The Steelers, Chargers, Patriots, Bills, Jaguars, Broncos. Which one would it be out of the AFC to make this?
Well, I think the first thing that I'm probably not supposed to do, because I don't know